Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Amma ba'd, we continue with the Muslim Mindset series, and today inshallah azza wa jal we'll be speaking about parenting. Hands up if you're a parent yet. All the way up so I can see clearly. Okay, I'm happy that the majority of you aren't parents yet. Alhamdulillah. May Allah azza wa jal bless you with righteous and healthy offspring. The reason I'm happy is because you guys now have a head start over others in raising your children properly, inshallah. A lot of people, when do they realize that they're making a mistake, or when do they end up asking questions? After the mistake is done. After he's had marriage problems, for example, 5-6 years, then he comes and asks, how do I fix my marriage issues? Or after their children are now teenagers and they're very far off the path, then they come and they say, I'm having issue with my teenage son or daughter, what do I do? So alhamdulillah, I'm happy that you guys are here, even though the majority of you don't have children yet. May Allah azza wa jal again bless you with righteous and healthy offspring, so that inshallah you understand from the beginning what mistakes not to make and what you should be doing from that which is good, so that inshallah azza wa jal you give yourself the best possible chance when it comes to raising up your children properly. One thing that we need to mention off the bat, or two things actually we need to mention off the bat, very important for us to understand when it comes to parenting, is that number one, your parenting starts before you become a parent. Your parenting starts before you become a parent. When does it start, your parenting? The second year of puberty? Keith. Here we go. Explain, yalla, explain.
You building yourself up to become a parent.
You building yourself up to become a parent? Good. Okay, this is one aspect. You becoming a person who you want your children to be like. You building yourself, you readying yourself for parenthood. And when you reach the age of puberty, now you become accountable for your words and your actions. Good. What else? Or when else? The spouse that you choose. Okay, when you want to marry a woman, we mentioned this last week, or you go to marry a man for the sisters. You want to choose a woman or a man that is suitable for raising children, inshallah. We gave a rule, marry a spouse that you want your children to be like, inshallah. If you want your daughter to be a certain way, marry that type of woman. If you don't want your daughter to be a specific type of woman, don't marry that woman. Okay, because they're going to be the ones that are raising your children. And same thing for the sisters. Marry a man that you want your son to be like, inshallah. Good. What else? What else? Choose the family. Okay, this is very important. We spoke about this also last week, that when you get married, you're marrying into a family. There's one that I'm hoping you guys get.
When you get married for?
All this we mentioned.
Be good to your own parents.
Very good, tabarakallah. Okay, be good to your own parents. Kama tadin tudan. As you treat, you'll be treated. So if you, inshallah, are upright and you're good with your parents, when it comes to you raising children, inshallah, the hope is that what? Your children will be good and upright to you. But if from now you're very bad to your parents, you're very disrespectful to your parents, you don't listen to your parents, you do everything that you know your parents hate, there's a good chance what's going to happen with your children? They're going to treat you the exact same way. So now, don't think that, wallah, because you're not married yet, or you don't have children yet, that your life now doesn't affect your future, or doesn't affect your marriage, or doesn't affect your children. No, everything that you do now affects you in the future. We need to remove ourselves from this atheistic understanding that our actions don't have an impact on our lives. This is a kufri, atheistic understanding. The Islamic understanding is that your words and your actions have an effect on you. Your words and your actions have an effect on you, have an effect on your life, they have an effect on the food that you eat, on the money that you make, the money that you spend, the marriage that you have, the character that you have, the children that you have. That barakah, that blessing comes only from Allah Azza wa Jal. So if you're doing good, you find that barakah there, inshallah. But if you're doing bad, that barakah, a'yadhan billah, is removed from your life. Okay, and that includes your marriage and your children. So that was number one. Number two, when it comes to raising children, just like anything else, your job is to try your best. Your job is to try your best. Does it guarantee that your children are going to be, Allahumma barik, yani righteous and upright and of good character? There's no guarantee. No one can guarantee anything in this dunya. But what you do, like anything else, you take the means. You do what you know to give you the best possible chance. Just like now, for example, you say, okay, I want to earn a certain income. So you look for the jobs that give you that certain income. whether it's you studying a certain course or you opening up a certain business, is there a guarantee that you study this course, you're going to make X amount of money? There's no guarantee. But you don't sit at home and say, okay, I hope to make $200,000 a year, and say, oh, this is the qadr of Allah if I don't make it. No, the qadr of Allah, you try your best. If it happens, it happens. It doesn't happen, that's when you say qadr Allah wa ma sha'a fa'al. Tayyib? Same thing with parenting. You don't make mistakes raising your children and then say, oh, this is the qadr of Allah that my children ended up bad. No, you do what's necessary to give your children the best possible chance to be upright, inshallah. If la qadr Allah, if may Allah Azza wa Jalla keep away from all of the Muslim children, the children end up bad after you tried your best, then that's on who later on? That's on the children, it's not on you. That's when you say, qadr al-mashayfa, I can't do anything. I'll continue to try my best, but I know, I've got a peace of heart that I've done what was upon me and more. Tayyib. When it comes to the Muslim mindset, some of the principles that we need to understand. Number one, this is a mas'uliyah. Mas'uliyah, this is a responsibility. Your flock are your responsibility. كلكم مسؤول وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. All of you are shepherds and all of you are responsible for their flock. Responsible means you're going to be asked about them. You're going to be asked about your wife and your children. We're speaking about the children here. When it comes to you being asked about your children, you need to understand that what you instill in them, what you ingrain in them, what you raise them upon, you're going to be asked about. If you raise your children teaching them the salah, teaching them good character, teaching them adab, teaching them how to have good work ethic, teaching them to be honest when it comes to their dealings, you taught them Quran, you were that person that instilled good things in them, inshallah. What's your standing going to be with Allah Azza on the Day of Judgment? A person who's passed, and passed inshallah with flying colors. And not only you passed, you get rewarded because you fulfilled your responsibility, now you get rewarded for all of the good that they do. And this is a massive, a beautiful thing for a person to have on the Day of Judgment, any scale of good deeds. Tayyib? And then not only you get the reward of them, but then inshallah they will raise their kids and they raise their kids and they spread the good in the community. So this is a sadaqah jariyah for you. Ongoing rewards. But the flip side, if you, a'yadhan billah, raise your children wrong, you get them, for example, used to music. When they're coming up, you get them used to music. You get them addicted to music. Imagine now a child from 0 to 10 years old, as an example, hypothetical. 0 to 10 years old, you were the one that put music on for them. In the morning, music. When the mom's cooking, music. When they're in the car, music. When they're watching shows, music. Before they go to sleep, music. You're the one that made them addicted to music. Age of 10, they hit puberty. They die at the age of 80. And for 70 years, they were addicted to music and listening to music day in, day out. That sin is upon who? It's upon the parents. It's upon the parents. Because you were the ones that got your children used to that. So imagine how much sin the parents are going to be asked about on the Day of Judgment because of the wrong that they've done for their children and instilled in their children. The parents that never got their children to pray, they never got them used to the salah from a young age. That's upon who? Now it's upon the parents. Don't think, okay, no, hold on a second. But Shaykh, isn't it the kid's responsibility to pray? Yes. It is the child's responsibility when they become pubescent to pray. Yes, without doubt. But who was the one that instilled the good? They get the reward for it. The one who instilled the bad, they get, a'yadhan billah, the sin for it. Tayyib. The one who taught their children swear words, the one who got their children used to riba, the one who got their children used to not covering their awrah, the people got their children used to intermingling, people got their children used to backbiting and slandering and lying and cheating. All of these people, they get their children used to these things, they're going to be asked about it. If you are a parent, it is your responsibility to raise your children properly. And when we say properly, very important, dear brothers and dear sisters, we're not just talking about deen. Deen in terms of ibadat. You being righteous does not mean ever that you pray your 5 daily prayers only. Abadan. The Prophet ﷺ said, those closest to me on the Day of Judgment are who? Ahsanukum khuluqa. Those who are best in character. Don't tell me you pray 5 times a day, but your character is absolutely disgusting. Why? Because then you're on the flip side. The furthest away from me are who? Those who are bad in their character. The Prophet ﷺ said, the heaviest thing on the scale on the Day of Judgment is what? Your good character. That which most enters people into Jannah, taqwa and good character. So when we raise children, we're not just parents who understand that I need to teach my children to pray. No, teaching them to pray is one aspect of raising them. you also need to instill in them traits on how to be a man and traits on how to be a woman, how to be a human being, how to be an upright person, how to be a person with good morals, good values, good understanding of how a person should be in life. You teach them work ethic, you build them up to be strong. You are questioned about all of that. You are questioned about all of that, and especially in the society that we live in today. What many people unfortunately neglect, and this is because of the understanding of older generations, is that the society raises children. In other countries, it still is there to a big extent, but it's dying down. In Australia, it's non-existent. If you come from Lebanon, for example, and I'm sure other places, but we know Lebanon. If you come from Lebanon, for example, if the kid is not dressed properly in the street, people will tell him. If the kid is disrespectful in the street, people will tell him. If the kid didn't show respect to his elders, he done something wrong, he will be told. If the woman does something wrong in the street, her family will know about it. So even if the parents don't raise people properly at home, when they're out in the open, people advise them. Don't sit like that, don't talk like that, lower your voice, don't do that, move for this person, etc., etc., etc. So the child grows up somewhat disciplined because of the society around them. In Australia, if you leave your child in the society, what ends up happening? Batata? Kifta batata. Okay? It becomes very bad. Why? Because we're not a society that encourages the good and discourages the evil. We're not a society that instills in people discipline, etiquette. We're not that society anymore. We're a liberal society which is all about individualism, and you do whatever you want. Now if you go out in the street, for example at the bus stop now, you may very well see kids 15 years old sitting down on the bus stop and an old man standing. Okay, you may very well see that. Where did that come from? From that selfishness. Tayyib. How many people will tell those children, boys, wallah, it's aib what you're doing. It's rude what you're doing. Move and let the old man sit. Unfortunately, not many. Why? Because everyone, mind your own business. Don't upset them. You don't want issues. You don't want problems. Let them be. They don't understand. They don't understand. The society doesn't hold praise. If you see people, for example, they're smoking outside of a shop, and people are trying to walk past, and the smoke is going all in the people's faces. They say, not only are you harming yourself, now you're harming others. Who is to tell them, boys, please, you're smoking, you want to kill yourself, affect yourself, that's one thing. But now you're affecting everyone that's walking past. You're making everyone think that goes past. You're harming their lungs. This is not right. Move away where you're not going to affect anyone except yourselves. Anyone to tell them that? There's no one to tell them that. Now someone swearing or screaming loud or talking loud, anyone advise them? No one advise them. Guys wearing girls' shoes, wearing girls' hats, wearing girls' t-shirts. And I'm not talking about the ABC people. I'm talking about, mashallah, half gangsters. Is tabarakallah, طول وعرض, done 20 years jail, and he's wearing girls' shoes. It's girls' shoes. It's haram to imitate females. A woman doesn't wear men's stuff, a man doesn't wear girls' stuff. But there's no one in society to teach anyone. Go do that 50 years ago. There's no way you make it down the street. There's no way you make it down the street. But society's changed. Society's changed. The bad not only is it looked turned a blind eye to, but it's also becoming encouraged. Billah. It's becoming encouraged, and this is something praiseworthy. For you to express yourself or do what you want or do what makes you feel comfortable. Don't worry about others. This is now something which is praised. And so this adds a layer to the issue. So the responsibility now becomes more on the parents. You as a parent, the responsibility becomes more on you to not only instill the ibadat, the love of Allah Azza wa Jal, in the fear of Allah Azza wa Jal in your child, but also now how to raise them as men and women. And you can't rely anymore on society. You have to do that all by yourself in your house to the best of your ability. Number 2, be age appropriate. Be age appropriate. One of the beautiful statements of the Salaf was play with children until they're 7. And then teach children until they're 14. And then befriend children until they're 21. And then let them be. Play with the children until they're 7. Then teach them until they're 14. Then befriend them until they're 21. And then let them be. This is a very, very, very profound understanding of the mentality of the child. You need to be age appropriate when you deal with the child. From 0 to 7 years old, does a child understand much about life? There's not much that they understand. They don't understand right and wrong. Even if they understand a little bit of right and wrong, it's instilled in them to be a bit naughty. To be a bit naughty. Yani, you know when they say a kid, sit still. Physically, it's impossible for the kid to sit still. A kid can't sit still. He has to move. Okay? So if you try and tell the kid, sit still, don't move, he can't. Okay? Or some people, they want their children to be, yani, like ubbad, extreme worshippers, and they're only 5 years old. Like, sometimes you see them, okay, we're getting up to pray. And the son, for example, is 4 years old or 5 years old. Ta'al salli ma'i. Comes pray next to me. Why? Leave him. Let him play. Why? He doesn't understand yet. The Prophet ﷺ, when did he teach us to start advising our children to pray? The age of 7. Do we know better than the Prophet ﷺ? You don't know better than the Prophet ﷺ. Let him play. If the kid wants to come and pray, no problem, let him. But for you to force the kid, yalla, 5 years old, get up and stand next to your dad. No, he doesn't need to. Why? Because he doesn't have the mental capacity now to understand this matter in a positive light. Or if he's praying, for example, he starts mucking around, like he gets disciplined. Why? You're going to make him hate the salah. He wants to come pray with you, beautiful. He wants to leave, let him leave. No problem. But don't force him. Why? Because he has to be age appropriate. This age until they're 7 years old is mucking around. It's fun. Yeah, you teach them a few good lessons. You teach them nice words. You teach them how to eat. You teach them how to sit. You teach them right and wrong. They can't be very strict with it. This is an age of just for them to learn, to express themselves, for you to instill what you can of goodness, but to take it easy. Tayyib, the next 7, and this is from the most important. The next 7, that 7 to 14 average. We're talking about averages. 7 to 14 approximately. This is a time where you teach your child. This is a time where you teach your child. Very important. This age is like the golden age for a parent. If you get this age, inshallah, you have very, very, very good kids, inshallah. If you miss this age from 7 to 14 approximately, then there's a very good chance you're going to have bad children in the future. Very good chance. Why? When a child is at this age, 7 to 14, number one, they are starting to becoming more mature. They're starting to understand reward, they're starting to understand consequences, etc. Number 2, they still look at you as the king of the world. You as a father, you are 100% right. You do no wrong. You're their role model. You're the golden standard for them. What you do and say, it's good. What you don't do and don't say, it's wrong. So what you want to do at this age is obviously be a good role model for them, because now they're learning of you, and you want to instill what you can in them. Islamic advice, worldly advice. You want to be that person instilling what you can at this age. Okay, this is a time of teaching, a time of learning. From 14 to 21, now they're teenagers. The teenager's nature, psychologically speaking, is what? His nature is rebellion. His nature is to rebel. So 14, 15, 16, now he starts to find himself, he's a man. He's macho man, tabarakallah. Now he wants to be a gangster. Now he wants to be a backchatter. Now he wants to be a person that puts on other people. Now he wants to find his own feet. So his dad, who 2 years ago used to be the person who, whatever he says is 100% good, now he's at an age where, what my dad says, whatever man. Whatever man. He starts to look to his friends as his role models. He becomes closer. This is where he starts to break away from that family circle, that family unit, and he starts to go towards his friends and society. And this is a very, very, very dangerous age. That's why we're told, from the advice of the Salaf, to befriend them at this age. If you've done a very good job, inshallah, from 0 to 15 years old, 0 to 14 years old, now you have a chance to befriend your child, because your child wants to be around you. Befriend here doesn't mean he doesn't leave your side. Befriend here means, for example, he wants to go horse riding, you help him horse riding. He wants to go bike riding, you help him bike riding. He wants to go fishing, you help him go fish. He wants to go overseas, you help him go overseas. You become a friend, just like you are with your mates, you become with him. If your mate does something wrong, for example, now Sulaiman does something wrong. If I try and put it on Sulaiman, Sulaiman, are you stupid? Did I tell you don't do that? What's wrong with you? How long is he going to be my friend for? Not long. Khalas. He's going to say, look, who's this guy think he is? Kahaj, bala sheikh, bala balot. Okay, he's going to go. He's going to like, you can't talk to people like that. What happens with a lot of people, their kids become 15 years old and he still wants to talk to his kid like that? If your son is 15, 16 years old and I'm his dad, I tell him whatever I want. And you tell your son, are you an idiot? Didn't I tell you 100 times? Haven't I taught you enough? Yani, what's wrong with you? Are you retarded? Whatever he says. That kid is going to look at his dad and say, what? Who does this guy think he is? I don't care, my dad or not my dad. Who are you to talk to me like that? I'm not a little kid anymore. Okay, so if you have that bad relationship, okay, and you try and treat him still like a little kid, what's going to happen? He's going to move away. He's going to move away. Same thing with the daughters. You do whatever I say, I'm your father, blah, blah, blah. So like, yeah, okay, no problem. Next thing you know, la qaddar Allah, she's done a million bad things. Sometimes run away from the house or whatever it is. Why? Because now they're not thinking, they're not little kids anymore. And so your job, just like you would advise your friend, that's how you need to advise them. Just like you advise your friend, that's how you need to advise them. How would you treat your friend? How would you forgive your friend? How would you overlook your friend's mistakes? That's how you need to start being with your children. It's a wrong mentality to think he's my child no matter what, I'll do whatever I want and he has to shut his mouth. Why? That works in a society where the whole society is like that. Because if that kid goes to the police and says, my dad called me retarded. In those countries, what do? They say 100% you're retarded. Go back to your dad's house. Here, if they make one phone call and they say, oh, my dad is verbally abusing me, he will have 100,000 people ready to take him. No problem. They'll come, they'll take him, they'll put an AVO on the father, they take the child, they can provide housing and a million things for the children, no problem. Sometimes, on top of that, to show you how much they belittle the parents here, sometimes if they feel the father's not guilty, but there's accusations, there's claims made against the father, that they're abusive or whatever it is, they put, I don't know what it's called, it might be a type of AVO, I'm not sure, but the kid can stay in the house, but the parents are not allowed to say anything to the child. If the child wants to walk out the front door, the parents aren't allowed to say no. And if they do say no, they feel threatened. Oh, my dad's trying to keep me here. Or my dad's threatening me. Or he spoke to me in a way which was threatening. The police can come and take the father again. Okay, this is a very dangerous thing. It's a very, very, very dangerous time that we live in. So if you try and be, antar, try and be like a macho man on your child at this age, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, especially in a country like Australia, unfortunately. So if you've raised them well, from the 0 to 14 approximately, then you befriend them, you're not going to have issues, inshallah. You're not going to have issues, inshallah. But if you try and you even neglect that 0 to 15, and now you want to be a man, you want to be a father now, when they're 15 years old, you've already failed. 100% you failed. And if you try and you raise them well, 0 to 15, and then now you find them having some independence, and you struggle with it. A lot of fathers struggle with this. That, okay, my kid now, he's not a little kid, he's not a baby, he's not 5, 6 years old, he's 15, 16 years old, but he's still my child. If you try and treat him like he's still 5, 6 years old, again, the relationship is going to break. The relationship is going to break. You not understand, he's a man, she's a woman, they have their own feelings, they've got their independence, etc., etc., etc. So yes, while there still needs to be respect and dutifulness to the parents, they are their own individuals. And then after that, khalas, they're adults, let them be. Let them be. And what are you going to tell a 20-year-old man, a 21-year-old man, a 22-year-old man or woman? What are you going to teach them now? That tree has already grown. Okay, so it's very important that when you raise children, you're appropriate with the dealings according to the ages that they're at. To give you an example of how important parenting is and for you to be age appropriate, Prophet ﷺ told us, teach your children to pray at what age? 7. And then discipline at what age? 10. Are they at puberty yet at the age of 10? Let's say on average, about 13 years old is puberty. Just take as a, again, hypothetical. 3 years of prayers from 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 4 years of teaching them the prayer verbally and encourage them to pray. And then after that, you got from 10, 11, 12, you got over 6 years worth of instructions verbally and then disciplinary to go and pray. 6 years, 7 years. And before that, they've got from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They've got 6, 7 years of them seeing you pray. So you've got, for that child, a lifetime of learning visually the prayer, then verbally the prayer, then through disciplinary means the prayer, if they don't do it. Do you think that kid's going to leave the prayer? Or do you think they're going to be ready to pray their whole life, inshallah? They're going to be ready to pray their whole life, inshallah. They're going to be ready to pray their whole life, inshallah. But you as a parent need to be very conscious of that. If the salah, the most important thing the Prophet ﷺ told you to put that much effort in. Imagine with other things. Okay, where the society is pulling them so much more. And if you neglect those early years, you don't pray in front of the kids, you don't show them any goodness, then you don't encourage the kids to pray, then you don't discipline the kids if they don't pray, then what's going to happen to you when they become teenagers? They're going to turn away from you and not going to listen to you, whether you say, I'm your father or not father, they're not going to care. The next point, which is important to understand when it comes to raising children, is to understand the environment. And alhamdulillah, at your age, most of you understand this very well. Okay, because it's usually the ones who came from overseas when they were adults, they don't understand the growing up here. Many people, when they're adults, they come from overseas, they grew up a certain way. Many of them, like, they can't look at their fathers in the eye. That's how much respect they have for their fathers. They grow up here and they're taken aback. How and why is my son talking to me the way he's talking? He can't comprehend it. You need to understand that a person is a product of his environment. Whether we like it or not, we're born here, we're raised here, we're Australians. Our norms, our understandings of right and wrong, it's tweaked a little bit, alhamdulillah, because of the deen and because of some of our cultural backgrounds. But al-asl wal-asas is what? Is that we're born and raised here, we're like them. However, it is in Australia, we're like them. And for our children, it's going to be worse. And by the time you guys, inshallah, become parents, it's going to be worse. Because your parents were still sometimes a little bit more stricter on what you done and what you didn't do and what you watch and what you didn't watch. But for your children, it's going to become worse. What's on there? There's still some morals and ethics when we're watching TV as kids. Now it's going to become much worse. Okay? A'yadhan billah, what's out there. May Allah Azza wa Jalla protect all of the Muslim children. So when you're raising your children, understand that this is the environment that you're raising them in. If you don't want them to have the traits of being raised here, do what many brothers are doing and have done, tabarakallah, which is they've taken their children overseas. They've done hijrah. They went and they lived overseas. Some Lebanon, some Turkey, some Egypt, some Malaysia. Wherever they could, they went just so they can raise their children there. And fi'lan, there's a massive difference between a person who raises their children in certain environments, because they're going to have the traits of them. Doesn't mean they're going to be perfect. They're not going to be perfect. But are they going to be like here? Very, very, very different. I don't know of any kids that grew up overseas in that righteous environment. They're not perfect, but none of them are 15 years old, wearing girls' Nike TNs, trying to sew grams on the side and underneath his mum's bed. He's got no idea. None of them are walking around with a knife, saying, Wallah, I'll shank him. Like, they're not doing that. Okay, they're not doing that. They may have like little things that they do, but nothing like here. Okay, nothing like here. Nothing at all. So don't ever compare if someone says, but there's bad everywhere. There is bad everywhere. But compare the bad. One's a dot in the ocean, and the other one is the ocean with a dot of purity. Don't ever compare the two. So you need to understand the environment that you're around and what you're bringing them up in. Even some brothers, they'll just move out of certain areas. Some brothers get upset because I always talk about Greenacre. That's haq is haq, huh? But certain areas, certain areas where, again, everyone wants to drive an AMG, and everyone wants to put his wife and a friend, and everyone wants to get lip fillers and Botox and the tightest jeans that you can find with a hijab open and the music pumping and the hand outside with a vape or cigarette, and their kids, tabarakallah, their kids is 3 months old and they want to put him in Louis Vuitton shoes. You told me what area I'm talking about. Tayyib, a lot of people, they don't want their kids in that environment because they're growing up and it's competition. Who can speak the least amount of English possible? Okay? Who can speak? Wallah, it's very bad. Very bad. Who wants to be the biggest gangster? And if you don't act like that, then you get put on. If you don't act like that, then you get put on. So they told you, I have to act like this, otherwise I'm going to get put on. And so it becomes a very bad environment. Many of those brothers are even moving out. Many of those fathers, they said, I don't want to be around this environment. So they take their children and their family outside of that environment, even to other parts of Sydney. Someone, for example, that moved even to Campbelltown. And they said, alhamdulillah, what was that? What was I living in? Again, if you feel that that's not an environment you want your children to be in, then you can move Even if it's not outside of Australia, but somewhere where you can instill goodness in your children, inshallah. Okay, this is something you need to be conscious of. Your children are a product of their environment. When it comes to parenting, very important, you need to sacrifice. You need to be willing to sacrifice. If you think parenting is all, do whatever you want and the kids will be alright, inshallah, you're not going to be able to raise kids properly. You need to sacrifice from your time. You need to sacrifice money. You need to sacrifice that which is maybe more enjoyable to you at that time for the sake of your children. Okay? Kids see your effort towards them, and kids need effort. It's not enough for you to say, oh, I'll put them in a good school and I'll give them a nice house and inshallah they'll have nice food and khalas, this is me raising them. No, you need a sacrifice. You need to, for example, be involved when it comes to your children and the time that you spend with them. Your young children, if you put them in sport, for example, make sure you go to their games. Try and go to their training. They're going to remember the effort that you put in. Many of you, I'm sure, some of you, your fathers, alhamdulillah, when you were younger, they done that. And I guarantee you, the ones whose fathers put in effort when they were younger, they think differently. They think differently. They look at their dads like, I'll do anything for my dad. Why? Because he used to come to my games. He used to take me to training. Okay, you have to sacrifice. Maybe you and your mates, on Saturday and Sunday, you've got a million things planned. But you have to have a balance. Don't neglect your children. Don't be a parent who the only thing your children remember from you is you wake up, you go to work, you come back tired from work, you're angry when you come back, you have a shower, and then you get out to your mate's house. And then Saturday, Sunday, they have to go to their tate's house with their mum, okay, and because their dad's fishing the whole weekend. Yeah, of course, it's very important. Have your time. 100%, it's very important. The husband has time, the wife has time, it's very important. But you have to understand that there needs to be also time for the children. You need to sacrifice. You need to sacrifice. You need to sacrifice money. I don't think this crowd has a big issue with this. Okay? And I think they will have a big issue with this, inshallah. But it's very important for you guys to tell others also. Some people, when it comes to spending on their children, they don't want to spend money on their children. And I'm not talking about clothes. For example, 6-week holidays program coming up. There's a 6-week holidays for kids in their school. And there's holiday programs at Masajid. Okay? Some will be fun activities, education activities. There'll be a million things going on. For the parents, they need to invest money in those programs. They need to say, okay, what's that going to cost me? Okay, $80 there, $100 there, $50 here, $20 there. At the end, it might add up. At the end, you might end up spending, for example, $1,000 on the holidays. You may look and say, what's $1,000? There are, for my child's deen and character and well-being, there are a lot of parents who are very, very, very stingy when it comes to this. And they won't put their kids in these programs. What happens all the time, the masajid will say, if anyone cannot afford it, come talk to us. So if you know someone who can't afford it, they can speak to the masjid and the masjid will give them a discount or will do it for free if they can. If you know masajid that are there, maybe you can sponsor children. Say, here's money for the programs. If you know any parents that are in need, let us know. Or if you know your brothers and sisters, you got brothers and sisters like nieces and nephews, mashallah, or you got cousins, find out where the programs are and tell your brother, your sister, whoever it is, if you know that they're doing it a bit tough, listen, I want as a gift to my niece, my nephew, I want to put them in these programs. And you pay for it if you have, tabarakallah. Make sure money is spent on the children and their well-being. For example, you got to invest money in their character building. So take them to workshops. Take them to learn, to play sports. Take them to learn martial arts. Take them to experience things. Take them, for example, to different countries. Take them to different cities. You're going to have to invest. But when you go and you're building them from this young age, this is going to save that kid a lifetime, inshallah. A lifetime. Get 2 kids, and I'm sure many of you guys know already from school. Get 2 kids. One kid who, mashallah, deen and dunya, he's been there, he's done that, he's got experience. This guy usually, he's stronger in his character, he's more eloquent, he's more confident, he doesn't have as much mental health issues. And take someone who's never left his room. Take someone who's never left his room. Holiday program involves sport, he's never done. Martial arts, he's never done. Hobbies like horse riding, bike riding, whatever it is, he's never done. Gone around to other parts of the world, he's never done. Other parts of Australia, he's never done. That kid, haram, he sits there all the time, quiet in class. He's got nothing to do, nothing to say. He doesn't have confidence. He doesn't feel involved. A lot of times doesn't feel even that worth compared to others. So this is a problem. We don't want that. We don't want that to happen to our kids. So you do what you can to sacrifice for them. And sometimes it might be between you buying a new fishing rod or spending on your children. Spend on your children if they need. If you can't do both, spend on your children. Sacrifice. That's you as a parent. You're meant to sacrifice. Sacrifice for the sake of your children. Okay? So make sure your time and your efforts is sacrificed for your children where it's needed. Some fathers, for example, mashallah, they work, they're in their own business or they work for themselves. Sometimes, for example, he will work 6 days a week and his kids won't see him. Be very careful. Your kid does not care about what food he eats. Right now, get a kid like a piece of corn, okay, or get him a beautiful Wagyu steak. Your kid will not care. Your kid will not care. Get him a Nutella sandwich, okay, or that Japanese steak that they massage the cow with. Your son will not care. Okay? If your son complains or daughter complains for 3 minutes, they'll get over it in 3 minutes. Your kids don't care. Put your kids in first class or economy, they won't care. Your kids won't care. What your kids will care about is you as a father. You as a father, you as a mother. If you give them the world and more, but you don't give them you, it's not going to mean anything for them. And when they get older, it's going to cause a lot of issues for them. Because they never had a father there. There was one ad, I was telling some of the brothers, I wish I could find the ad because wallah, it was very, very, very profound. In Asia, they had some ads for kids towards their parents. And there was one kid that always wanted to speak to the dad, but dad's always at work. He's got a meeting. So one day the kid comes with some money, saying to the dad, can I please book in an appointment with you? Okay? Just to sit. The moral of the story is your child just wants to sit with you. They don't care. Wallah, they don't care how much money you have in the bank. Your child could not care less. When they get teenagers, maybe a different story. But when they're young, which is the most important time for you as a parent, you need a sacrifice. If you can work less, and spend it on your children more. Take them to school, pick them up from school. Sit down and have a conversation with your kid. How was school? What are you interested in? What did you like? What did you learn? A lot of parents, they don't do that with their kids. Who's going to now take the place of the parent? They're going to look for it elsewhere. Especially fathers with your daughters. Especially fathers with your daughters. Take your daughter to dinner. And make your daughter feel that she is the most special person on the face of the earth. Because if she doesn't get it from you, where's she going to get it from? She's going to get it from others. So if you don't want her to get that male affection from others, you make sure you give it to your daughter. The need to sacrifice. Next is to be hands-on. This one should be, again, these things should be natural, but they're not, unfortunately. Nowadays, especially, this one's very important with the sisters. Sisters, the parent is a parent for a reason. You have the virtue and the reward of being a parent for a reason. When the Prophet told us, your mother, then your father, there's a reason. That reason is not because you charged the iPad and you gave the kid the iPad. That's not the parent. Be very careful, okay, if that's your parenting technique, to shut the child up. If you shut the child up and you just numb or drug the child until they're teenagers, these kids are going to have massive issues in the future. Massive issues. As parents, you need to be hands-on. Especially for the females. You need to be hands-on. You're going to be tired. You're going to have to sacrifice. You're going to hate your life at times. But Allah's instilled in you. Allah's given you that ability. Allah's given you that emotion towards your child. Allah's given you that love towards your child. Allah's given you the ability to not sleep all night and still work all day for your child. Allah's given you that ability. So you need to be hands-on. This very, very, very bad trend of parenting where we neglect our children. We just shut them up. We pacify them with the iPad or the TV. Watch all day. I mean, what's being instilled into the child? What's being instilled into the child on top of them not learning life? What's being instilled into the child now? Dad and dad, mum and mum. A'udhu billah. Boyfriend, girlfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend. Crop tops, mini shorts. That's what the kids learning. What do you think they're going to grow up like? No, you have to be hands-on. Sit there and teach your children writing, teach children numbers, teach your children shapes, teach your children colors. Any mothers that want to send their kids to school, they'll pay the best school, no problem. But they want to send their kids to school, they don't do any homework. Ask anyone that's a teacher in anything. one of the biggest issues that we have as teachers in any field is that the kids don't do the homework. Why? Because the parents, they can't be bothered. If a parent is very busy and they can't, different story. But when they can, and the only reason that they don't is because they want to lay on the couch and they want to play on their phones, that's a big, big, big issue. You have to be hands-on with your children. And you have to put in that time and effort to teach your children. Otherwise, why did Allah Azza wa Jal bless you with that status? What's the difference between you as a parent and a teacher at school? They're doing more than you. What? Because you put nuggets in the oven for your kids? La. Because you put effort, you raise that child right, you instill good things in that child. That's what makes you the mother, that's what makes you the father. Another important rule, the second last one that we have here is children listen with their eyes. Children listen with their what? With their eyes. Children see what you do. And that's what they learn of. You could tell a child day and night, don't smoke, don't smoke, don't smoke, don't smoke. Smoking is bad, smoking is bad, smoking is bad, smoking is bad. The kid sees you smoking, what happens? I'm gonna smoke. Or at least smoking isn't bad. Why? Because you're my dad, you smoke. You're my mum, you smoke. Don't say, oh, I teach my child. You taught your child through your actions. Your child saying that, that's what they done. Oh, Baba, we have to pray. It's very important to pray. But then they don't see you getting up and pray. Or you only pray when you're around people. Or you pray at the end of time. Or you never wake up for Fajr. Or you never pray at Isha. Or you never pray when you're at the shops. Or you never pray when you're at the park. What ends up happening? That's what your child's going to learn. That I don't need to pray. Baba, don't go to bad places. This is my favorite one. This is, alhamdulillah, when we're moving away from haram and coming a little bit into deen. One of my friend's mothers, she called me. And she said, please, you and him, my friend, you guys were very close. And alhamdulillah, now you're in deen. Please, I want you to come and speak to my son. He's still going to bad places and doing bad things. I said, khair, inshallah. So I go there and I sit with her and I get her side of the story first. I say, Haji, I said, I'm going to speak to him, inshallah. But I want you to do one thing first. She goes, what is that? I said, I want you to stop going to weddings. She didn't want me to speak to her son after that. Why? She goes, no, what's that got to do with this? I said, you don't want your son to go clubbing, for example. Okay, no problem. But in your son's eyes, he's going to weddings. With you, there's dancing, there's men and women, there's alcohol. If it's not on the table, it's being served on the side. What's the difference between that and what he's doing? Alright, you're not going clubbing because you don't like clubbing. You're not going clubbing because you don't like clubbing. To your son, it's mixed, men and women. He doesn't drink alcohol, and if someone wants, it's on the side. And all the haram that's there is there. What's the difference? People dress inappropriately, people dress inappropriately. What's the difference? Because here 75% and more is Muslims makes a halal. What's the difference between this and between this? In your son's eyes. Not in your eyes, in your son's eyes. So she really didn't like that. She got very upset with that. So, okay, this is what your son's going to see. How do I tell him, okay, don't go here? Most of the time when those parents say they want their kids to be religious, it just means, one, I want my kids to listen to whatever I say. Two, I don't want my kids to marry a non-Arab girl. Okay, that's usually what it means. But this is a reality. Your child is going to see that from you. Your child is going to see that from you. So when if you want your child to be a certain way, let them see that. Okay? And believe me, I'm not perfect when it comes to any of these. But I have to remind myself. Sometimes my kids will be speaking to me and I'll be on my phone. I need to remind myself, pull my phone down and look at my kids. Why? Because when my kids learn the trait of not looking at a person when they're talking to them, I can't say, Baba, look at the person when you're talking to him. They might not say it, yeah, but they're going to be thinking in their head, I try and talk to you and you're on your phone. And you don't put your phone down. So you're instilling things in your children. The way you speak to your spouse. Again, we're not perfect. Okay, but you need to be conscious of it. If you speak bad words to your spouse in front of your kids, you say, for example, to your wife, you shouldn't be speaking like this. We're just speaking of the worst of the worst. And you say to your wife, you stupid fat cow, for example. Okay, don't ever say that to your wife. Okay? But that's what you said to your wife. Your son learned that. Your son now learns that. Now you're going to say to your son, Baba, don't say bad words to your wife, it's not good. But he's already learned that. It's already instilled. Not only that, even your daughter. Now your daughter may say, bro, there's no way I'm sure she'll say, bro. Okay? your daughter might say, yeah, there's no way I want to marry a man like my dad. This is how my dad used to treat my mom. I don't want to marry a man like my dad. So she starts looking for guys that are the complete opposite to you, which is a problem. It's a complete opposite because maybe you're a good person, but you have a bad trait. Whereas she marries a bad guy with a billion bad traits. Okay, but what instilled that? Because of that issue. Whereas if you show that good character, your children want to be like you in a good way. Your sons follow you in a good way. Your daughters look for a guy like you in a good way, inshallah. Okay, this is very important. Children listen with their eyes. Be very careful what you instill in your children, what you say to your children, what you say around your children. Kids listen, kids pick up. Okay, kids listen, kids pick up. You're saying, you and your friend are talking, your child, even though they may act like they're not doing anything, they're listening. Every word that you're saying. You said the F word, you said the S word, you said the P word, whatever you say. Kids pick up. You speak about someone, your kids pick up. You backbite people, your kids pick up. Okay, very, very, very important. Kids listen with their eyes. The final one that we have here is provide alternatives for your children. Don't shelter your child. Okay? What you don't want is to go from one extreme, like do whatever you want, even if it's a billion% haram. You don't want the other extreme of shelter them to the extent where they do nothing. Okay? Because this is going to, again, lead to a child who's not very good, not very strong character. It could lead to a child who rebels, which is a problem. It could lead to a child who stays good, but they're very socially awkward. They got no confidence. They got no life experience, which you don't want. Okay? Or it could lead to really bad mental health issues with the child. What you want to do is you want a child who is away from the haram, but you provided alternatives. Example, you don't want to take him to the beach on hot days. Okay? Don't take him to the beach on hot days. Make sure they learn how to swim elsewhere. Okay? Some parents, they say, we need to take our kids here so they learn how to swim. Don't take them to there. You can do, for example, a lot of places they teach kids how to swim in private environments. Okay, it's like a private pool, they've got a private place at their house. Go teach them to swim there. Or teach them, for example, when they're young. So they learn how to swim. Then when they have the ability, now mashallah, they're good swimmers, they get a little bit older, they want to go to the beach. Okay, we can't go to this place. We're going to go to this other place. Maybe it's a little bit further away, but you're able to go there. You provided an alternative. They were able to have fun, and it was halal. Okay? Or, for example, the times that you choose. If you know, okay, listen, the beach is going to start getting bad at 10 a.m. As an example. The beach is going to start getting bad at 10 a.m. What we're going to do, we're going to wake up before Fajr. We're going to pray Fajr on the way there or at the beach if it's a hot day. If it's going to be a hot day. We're going to swim from Fajr time or from sunrise. Up until about 9:30, we've got 2-3 hours in. Yallah, time for us to go home. Your kids had that alternative. Okay? Your children don't want to go, you don't want to take your kids to the movies. Okay, beautiful, don't take them to the movies. Or you don't want them watching TV, beautiful, don't get them to watch TV. What's the alternative? Okay, we gave some examples of like horse riding. Go take them horse riding. Go take them dirt bike riding. Go take them hunting. Go do things with your children that are different. It's an alternative. They were able to get out, they were able to do things, and they were able to enjoy themselves, and it was halal. With your daughters, you don't want them to do bad things. Alhamdulillah, there are a lot more things now for girls to do, which is excellent. You, for example, your brothers, your sisters, your friends, the masjid, whatever it is, maybe you guys hire out like an indoor stadium it's very cheap as well. Okay, like an indoor stadium, the girls can do sports there. You do your own, you organize your own, for example, indoor sports camp for women. If you have that, mashallah, ability. Or more Muslim organizations, they do it. But put your daughters in, they want to do like an indoor soccer camp. Okay, beautiful, go do it. It's only females there. Okay? Martial arts classes, as an example. You want your daughter to do martial arts, but you don't want to do the boys class. Go and speak to the instructor. Okay, see if they can provide a female one. And you pay extra. Don't be stingy. Say, okay, I'll pay extra. Or get your own group. One beautiful thing, the brothers in Wollongong recently. They wanted to do jiu-jitsu, but the classes are all mixed and all of that stuff. I said, listen, there's like 15 of you guys. Why don't you guys speak to the instructor and organize a time where you can do your own private class, 15 of you, tabarakallah. Even if it costs a little bit more than normal, I think it ended up costing the same anyway. He opened up a new class for them. But it's just you guys, it's 100% halal, inshallah. Go do it. So they went and spoke to Muhammad, they got classes. And it's nice and easy. It's a simple alternative. Same thing you do with the females. For example, you, your nieces, your nephews, your cousins, they want to do a mashallah, go speak to the instructor. They'll get a female one, inshallah. Okay, beautiful. They got an opportunity. They got their own class. Even if you have to pay more, no issue. Pay more if you need to. Again, it's part of that sacrifice. Don't be stingy. But you need to provide those alternatives. You need to provide those alternatives. You provide those alternatives from when the kids are young. That'll last with them forever, inshallah. That'll last with them forever. But if you don't provide anything for them, you either show to them all the way, you're going to have issues. Or you let them go do whatever they want, then they're going to do whatever everyone else is doing. No matter how religious you were as a parent. You have to provide those alternatives from the beginning, inshallah, so they grow up nice and decent. Inshallah, Azza wa Jalla, this is beneficial. Number one, parenting is a responsibility. You're going to be asked about it. Number two, be age appropriate when you're raising your children and teaching them and nurturing them. Number three, understand the environment that you live in. Number four, there's a massive need to sacrifice, and every parent needs to understand that parenting is about sacrifice. After that, you need to be hands-on when it comes to raising your children. Don't leave them to be raised by the iPad or the PlayStation, whatever it may be. Second last, children listen with their eyes, so be very careful how you act in front of your children. You need to be that role model. And finally, you need to provide those alternatives for your children. هذا والله أعلم. صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.